Okay, so good day uli sa inyo mga ka-beard. This is Bearded Talk once again, and this time, what we will be talking about is probably one of the new normal things that we will be doing, especially dun sa mga tao na may leadership position like managers, supervisors, and if you are a person who does not have a leadership position or walang nililid na tao, if you're an employee, you can also take a look at this kasi nga you might want to suggest this to your supervisor, to your manager, if you want them to improve how they will be managing the team now. Especially there's a lot of teams that I know now that were forced to be managed remotely. So there is a totally big difference in managing a team face to face and remotely. So this time I created this video to talk about tips on how you would manage your team remotely. So ito yung pinaka topic natin today. So this is Bearded Talk episode 4, tips to manage remote workers or teams. Since, as I've said, this probably is our new normal. That is, as of this video creation, our challenges right now with COVID-19 has not subsided. So there are people right now that is working remotely in their house, not in the office, and they are far away from each other, unlike before na it's really common and it's really easy for you to manage a team, especially if you get to see them and every day and they're physically there sa office. But this time, with the situation that we have right now, we are forced to work. Most of us are now working remotely. So as a leader, as a supervisor, as an employee, how can you make sure that you are managing or you are managed effectively by your leaders when you are working remotely? So this is what we'll be talking about today. Before anything else, before we even discuss the tips, we would need to acknowledge first what are the challenges of working remotely, especially those people who are working remotely just now. These are probably the things that you're experiencing and probably the things that you can relate on. Okay. So first is lack of face-to-face supervision. So unlike before na pwede kang tumayo sa station mo tapos pumunta ka dun sa station ng supervisor mo or manager mo and ask for guidance face-to-face, that is definitely a challenge right now. So although there are systems and tools that would let you reach your supervisor or manager, but you can it's there is a big difference right now if you're going to talk to them face to face versus talking to them using the technology that is available to us. So that's one of the challenges. Another thing is challenges in accessing information. Why? Especially if you have a team that is working with you in the office and then you have a team now working that is outside of the office. So, especially people who are working remotely, they may have challenges accessing the information. Why? For example, hindi ka tulad dati na kapag may kailangan ka sa office mate mo, you will just go to the station of that person and ask that directly. No, that's not the case. This time, you are working remotely. You are far from each other, and the the capability that we have before of just standing up and going to the station of our coworker, asking the question immediately and getting the answer immediately is not available to us right now, especially if we are working remotely. So that can be challenging. Another thing is, since most of the information will now be via email, via chat, and there are some people who is not that tech savvy in using the technology that we have right now, so it's going to be challenging. So I'm telling you right now that it's accessing that information is not as simple as going now to your work coworker station and asking for help or asking the question. Another thing is social isolation. Why? Especially, and this is something that I heard when I talked to people who's working remotely. I have friends who's been working remotely for quite some time now, and I heard people who are working remotely just now. And this is one thing that they mentioned to me. So regardless of how long you are now working remotely, there is a tendency of social isolation. So what do we mean by it? Lalo na hindi ka na kasi ngayon makakapag-team building ng basta-basta. There are some people working in the provinces. There are some people that is working even outside of your country that you have to get in touch with. So your the feeling of belongingness, I would say, is affected. Kasi nga, there's really no social interaction between you and your coworkers. It's easy for us um, to really say na parang, ay hindi, kasi nagwo-work from home naman yung kausap ko. So actually, okay nga yun para sa kanya. No, it's not always like that. Working from home, there are challenges that you need to face. And one of them is for me, if you're going to uh, ask my personal opinion, social isolation is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, challenges right now when you're working from home. Because as humans, we need to be social. We are social beings. That's why it's no longer called as social distancing because as humans, we need to socialize. It's now called physical distancing. But it's easy for us to say na, "Ah, nagwo-work from home naman yan, eh, kahit hindi ko i-check yung katrabaho ko na yan, okay lang siya kasi he is or she is working at the comfort of the comfort of his or her own home." It's not always like that. I'm telling you right now, social isolation is one of the biggest challenges that can actually lead to depression. So that's one thing though that I would like to highlight. Another thing is, this is really true. One of the challenges right now of people working remotely, especially if you're working from home, is the distractions that is available. So I don't know if you have experienced this. For example, may kausap ka, may ka-meeting ka, tapos biglang may magpiprito. And then maririnig sa background na may nagpiprito ka or biglang sumagot yung may sumagot sa telepono, ang lakas-lakas ng boses or yung kapitbahay mo na nagbibidyoke tapos maririnig mo pa yung mga songs and makaka-capture siya ng headset mo. Another thing is you cannot avoid the kids, because we are at home. That is why it's really a challenge right now that there are available or there are things that would distract us from working. And this is one of the challenges of possibly some of the employers that we have right now. That's why they were really hesitant before in providing work from home options. But right now, they are forced. And this is the reality that they need to face, that there are things that would distract people that we have right now working from home. And I'm not saying it will, but may influence their productivity. And that is something that we have to be open because that is a reality. Okay. So those are the common challenges. If there are also other challenges that we have not listed it here, feel free to give me a comment, send me a message so that we can also talk about that offline. Or kung gusto niyo sa online, sa YouTube channel, sa Facebook page, go ahead and do so. Probably I've missed something out here. I would like to let you know that I'm open for your suggestions and comments. So go ahead and comment that. Okay? Now that we know the common challenges of people working remotely, paano naman natin siya ma-address? So, if you need to manage or some the tips that I would like to share with you on how you would manage remote workers moving forward is you just need to speak to your remote workers. And speak stands for schedule your checks with them. P stands for provide several communication tech options. E is establish rules of engagement. A is advise them to interact with the team. And K is certain, and last but certainly not the least is kindness. So these are the tips that I have for you now so that you can manage your remote workers more efficiently. Speak to your remote workers. And I'll be discussing them one by one. S stands for schedule your checks with the team. So just like what I've said, social isolation is one of the challenges of working remotely. So when you are a supervisor, when you're a team leader, if you are an employee, you want to make sure that there is a routine on when you will be checked by your supervisor, your team lead, or your manager. Check with them regularly. Another thing is make it predictable. Schedule it because there are some people who really works well when it's scheduled, and it builds that sense of anticipation with the team that you will be meeting with them. So especially for remote workers, make it predictable if you want it to be scheduled para at least maging routine na nila yon. And last but certainly not the least is when you schedule your checks with your team, make sure that you set this as an avenue for them to raise any concerns that they have. Remember, you are not with them um, physically, and this is the avenue for them to speak up. If they have any concerns, listen to them, make sure that you address it and work with the remote worker on how you will be addressing whatever concerns they may actually have. So the very first tip tip for you guys is to schedule your checks for your team. Schedule it. That's a key. P stands for provide several communication tech options. So why? Remember, there are some people who would have challenges accessing information. There are a lot of factors, and probably one of them is because they are forced to work remotely. They are not equipped yet, or they are not aware that there are several communication options for them to use. Remember that if you're working with people that is working remotely, email alone is insufficient. Do not just rely on email, especially right now that there's going to be a lot of distractions. I just want to and again, that is a known fact. Email is inefficient. There are times that they would miss your email out. Another thing is team member working remotely will actually benefit from richer technology. For example, video conferencing is really big right now. People, you can meet with them without exposing yourself to the virus. They have a lot of virtual conference tools that is available. And there are also quick collab tools. So there's a lot of project management tools now that is available. So this is not sponsored, but just want to share with you. We have Trello, we have Infinity, there is Google Suite, there Monday.com. So there are a lot of quick collab tools that you can actually use so that information, and if you're doing project management, you can still manage that team, their tasks, their time, even if they're working remotely. So provide several communication tech options with them. Enhance that because technology right now is really booming, and it's also a good way for you to develop your remote workers knowing that there are a lot of tech options available for them to use to communicate with them. Next is E, establish the rules of engagement. And this is one thing that I would like you to do as early as possible. Why? St- the previous tip that I've shared with you is there are a lot of tools that you can use. That is true. However, very first step is you have to establish what tools to use to reach out and when. Baka mamaya sobrang dami mo namang ginagamit. May Google Suite ka na, may Trello ka na, may Google Excel, may Google ka pa, may Excel ka pa, may Google Sheets ka pa. So establish just one tool that you will be using and then establish the rules when they can reach out. Let your employees know the best way and time to reach you in the day. For example, for me, if I if I am working remotely, I would say that if I am on my shift, because I also set my boundaries. If I on my shift, we can use the company approved communication tools. That is fine. But if I am outside of my shift, but you really need to get in touch with me, the best way for you to get in touch with me is via Facebook Messenger. So let your employees know, and then remember, they also need to respect your time as well. Hindi naman 24 hours ay gising ka to assist them. So you can also set that boundaries as to when would be the best time to reach you in the day. So remember that you have to keep as well your time um, boundaries with them. Even if you're working remotely, you want to stop yourself and your remote workers from burning out. Last but certainly not the least is what I've said, establish this as soon as possible so that everybody is aligned. Isa lang yung gagamitin yung communication tools. Ito lang. Pag may quick questions kayo, ito ang gagamitin nyo. Pag outside your shift, pero kailangan nyo ako, this is how you will be reaching out. And ito yung time na best na mag-reach out kayo. Kasi I would like to set your expectation na kapag gantong oras nyo ako ni-reach out, yung my response may be delayed. So establish the rules of engagement so that nothing will be miscommunicated between you and your team. Next is advise the team to interact. So there are a lot of technological tools that you can use now. So there is Slack, there is Gleep, there is Skype for business. So there's a lot of things that you can actually use. But one thing that I would like to highlight though, especially if you have a group of people working in the office and another group of people working at home or remotely, encourage them to interact with your coworkers. Again, social isolation is one of the main challenges right now for teams that has people working remotely. Another thing is, and there might be people who might be, you know, maybe asking why we are encouraging this, but structure a way for them to talk about non-work related topics. Guys, if you're going to talk only with topics that is related to work, if you have people working remotely, if you're not going to let them talk to your coworkers on a on a channel about non-work related stuff, it will be boring. And I'm telling you right now that again, this might actually lead for people not to interact with their coworkers. I know that your intention is good. If you're the kind of person that would say na we only need to work about work related stuff, true, and that is okay for me if you are working on an office setup. But if you have people working remotely, a lot time for them to talk about non-related stuff. And as a leader, you have to structure that. That is why we have the word there, structure it. So for example, um, you would allot the last hour, let's say you're working on shift, you can establish a rule na auto sa last hour, aside from talking about work, you can interact with your team and talk whatever you want as long as it's within legal and moral bounds. You can also do that. Kasi nga, you want to promote interaction. You want to avoid social isolation from people who are working remotely. There are times that you really need to talk to them, not because of work. I'm telling you that, and it will be uh, really helpful for productivity and sanity sake. So that's what I'm telling you right now. And it works for the teams that I've handled. So that's one tip. So again, you want it to be strict, but not to the point that you're going to treat them as robots. Remember, humans are social beings. Last but certainly not the least is be kind. With a lot of things going on right now, um, mental health is also suffering. There's a lot of people getting depressed. There's a lot of things going on, especially if you're a person in leadership position, if you're a coworker, there are times that people would tell you things that's happening right now. Lawakan nyo ang pag-unawa nyo. Be kind. Hear them out. Empathize. Not necessarily agree with what they're saying, but try to understand where that comment or where that is actually coming from and ask them how they're doing. Right now, the numbers, the policies, they matter, yes, but what also matters is also their welfare. Ask them how they're doing. So that is why it's really important for you to stay and be kind to all of your coworkers. Okay? So remember the tips that I provided to you. If you want to manage your team um, effectively, especially those people working remotely, speak, speak to them. SPEAK. All right. So, guys, if you like this video and you have any comments or suggestions for future topics, You can go to Facebook, to this Facebook page at Bearded Talk. You can also find me in YouTube, which is Bearded Talk. And I would highly request for your assistance and support to hit like and subscribe. So thank you sa mga nag-subscribe na at nag-hit ng notification icon. Thank you. And if you want something to talk about, if you're not really comfortable putting it in the comment section or whatnot, you can also send me an email, beardedtalk20@gmail.com, and I'll gladly respond to whatever concerns that you might have. Okay? So again, thank you for the time that you spent with me. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. This is Bearded Talk, signing off. Bye-bye.